Um, Next question, second to last one. What are your concerns about our supply chain? I know we mentioned it earlier, but as it stands, like, what are your concerns about our supply chain or our fulfillment?
Yeah, so we've heard that there shouldn't be too many issues. And when we get the samples sent, it takes maybe like a couple weeks or a week, but they always show up. Um, but my concerns are about tariffs, just geopolitical issues between US and China. Think also it's just a long way. So if shipping rates go up, then I think that could get a lot more expensive. And just in general, I guess this is not necessarily supply chain, but you hear a lot about um, products being ripped off in China. Like, so if we finalize our shoe, release it, and then maybe we realize, oh, there's some company in China who has basically the exact same shoe and they're selling it for 50% of what we're selling it for. So those are some of my concerns. I think a lot of them could be resolved by moving production closer to the US, if not to the US itself, which is something that you mentioned earlier. So, I think that's still a goal that we have to try to work towards. And I think if we do that, then a lot of my concerns would be addressed.
Yeah, I think those are my exact concerns, like the lead times, not being able to really understand them because we don't have boots on the ground right now because it's so far away. So we kind of like have to deal with everything remotely. And we don't have a way in which we can kind of like dictate the terms as well as maybe other bigger companies can who have a presence overseas. So I think being able to move things more localized will be beneficial for us because we'll be able to actually be, get to the company, get to the factory, and perhaps establish like a relationship, better working relationship. But as it stands, it's kind of a gray area for us. We a blind spot, not being able to understand these lead times, and then the holding costs. We don't foresee, like, we hope that like the product is just selling off the shelf, but I think there's going to be some period in which we're like actually holding on to these products and really baking that into the budget and understanding like, okay, where are we going to be housing these products, and like how expensive is that going to be uh to keep them, and for how long. So like I think there's a few things in the supply chain that really kind of like concern me, but hopefully we can start, as we develop this team out, like hopefully we can start kind of like working to address those issues.
Yeah,
Last question.
that,
Okay, go ahead.
that's a good point. I was just going to say a couple of things super quickly. I think there's a language barrier, obviously,
Yeah,
and there's a bit of a black box between us and the factory. So, I would hope if we move it to an English speaking country, it would be a bit easier to develop those relationships with the factory. And then, like you were saying before, it's so far that we can't just pop by every month or every 2 months or whatever it is. And it's kind of hard to know what we're getting ourselves into, what it looks like when our shoes are coming down the line, unless we're actually there. And we are going to go there at least a couple of times, but I think I heard of this other company that went like 10 times to their factory before they released the product. So that's something that is a bit cost prohibitive for us to do because it's so expensive to get to China. But if our factory were in like California or something, or Boston, I think that would be something that would be a lot more palatable for us.
agreed. 100% agreed.